Co-regulation builds capacity. The more intensity and complexity we can handle, the less we get overwhelmed and the better we do, collectively and as individuals. Co-regulation skills improve our health, reduce our medical costs, build collaborative relationships, and increase our capacity for conflict resolution and problem solving. In our first 2 years of life, we learn how to shift up and down in our nervous systems from our caregivers. If our parents' regulation circuitry is limited and primitive, then our circuitry will be primitive too, until we develop something more efficient and mature. It's like learning language. We cannot do it by ourselves. All the slides in this video are color-coded to track the different elements of the brain and nervous system. Blue, we downshift to relax, drop anxiety, digest our food, or go to sleep. Magenta, we rev up different amounts to get out of bed in the morning, to cook dinner, or to run for our lives. Aqua, we adjust delicately for social engagement so we can find just the rhythm and level of intensity that works for each different communication partner. Much of the text and background is aqua and teal because regulation develops with the social nervous system. To regulate means to shift gears in our nervous system so we can calm down, rev up, or adjust for communication exactly as needed. That way, we do not waste energy being too revved up when it's time to calm down for sleep, or waste time because we can't get ourselves going, or annoy our communication partners with talk that's too fast or too slow or misattuned. External regulation means we get help regulating ourselves. In self-regulation, we regulate on our own. In co-regulation, or mutual regulation, we regulate together. External regulation, self-regulation, and co-regulation are all based on interaction. These are skills we learn and internalize in close relationships. It's a ladder because the higher skills are more complex and depend on developing the more basic skills in circuitry first. We are not born knowing how to regulate ourselves. Our genetic program only provides global downregulation. It's like a primitive emergency brake designed to shut our nervous system all the way down into sleep. So an infant or toddler left alone will crash into sleep before they wear themselves out and die. When it happens to adults, we freeze, so it's hard to move, talk, or even feel or think. In external regulation, we rev up, calm down, or adjust for communication together with another nervous system, hopefully one that is healthy, more developed, and better regulated than ours. It's often a nonverbal transmission of new circuitry, like learning partner dancing. We learn by imitation and by feel and by being soothed by another. It may even be a dog or a cat or a horse. Touch and cuddling and sound like lullabies or chants or cheers can help us shift gears together. External regulation is what we do with people we care about when they're having a hard time. As a baby, who helped you calm down, wake up, connect, or go to sleep? As a child, who put you to bed just right? Now, who helps you downshift out of fight or flight? Who gets you to engage and enjoy yourself when you're depressed or isolated? Who holds you when you cry? Who helps you articulate or contain your feelings? Managing our own arousal and emotions without external support is an essential skill. It gives us choice about how we behave. We do not learn self-regulation by ourselves. We learn it mostly unconsciously, in relationships, through attunement and mirroring a better regulated nervous system. We entrain with the other person's circuitry and make it our own. Once we internalize new skill patterns, we can use them in our own self-regulation. Civilized society means living near other humans without a lot of primitive fighting and killing. It requires that we can self-regulate enough to avoid constant threat responses. Both solo and relational self-regulation strategies are useful. Solo strategies involve turning away from people to settle ourselves, motivate ourselves, or to feel better. Relational strategies involve turning toward relationships to settle ourselves, motivate ourselves, or to feel better. The person you turn to in your mind may be real or imagined, dead or alive, but their opinion matters to you, even when they're not around. Obviously, some forms of solo regulation are healthier than others, especially over the long term. Consider meditation, yoga, prayer, fantasy, philosophizing, masturbation, goal setting, strategizing, rumination, worrying or self-criticism, or turning outward toward nature, God, science, reading, exercise, house cleaning, food, drugs, alcohol, TV, porn, internet, gambling, workaholism, pursuing goals, power, money, greed. When solo regulation pulls us out of the present, it's called autoregulation. It's calming, but isolating and inefficient. It develops by necessity when children are neglected. Sturdy relationships make self-regulation easier. I can contain angry words and actions when I'm upset because I care what my community thinks of me. Even when I'm in despair, I can carry on for the children. I can uphold my values and make difficult choices with integrity because that's what my parents taught me. Under stress, I set a better example when children are around. I often stay with difficult tasks because I do not want anyone to call me a quitter. I push myself to do scary or difficult things because I do not want people to be disappointed in me or ashamed of me. Co-regulation, by definition, is good for both people. Co-regulators are self-regulators who can pay attention to self and other at the same time. Note, co-regulation is not about merging or codependence. Co-regulation expands our capacity to cope with intensity and complexity so we can stay present and engaged with other people and our world. Regulating together, it's easier to stay engaged with complex tasks, to make good decisions, to generate options when we're stuck, to stay present under pressure, to build sexual arousal, to face our grief and cry, to laugh and clear shame, and to heal from trauma. In building regulation skills, start primitive and build up. In using the skills, try the more evolved, more efficient skills first. The bigger ovals indicate more capacity. Building co-regulation opportunities into our lives and relationships makes sense. Together, we can handle more intensity and complexity than we can on our own. As our capacity for interactive regulation declines, we go volatile or numb more often. We stop expecting collaboration and mutuality. We turn instead to relating through roles, compulsive competition, bullying, lying, power plays, and other primitive behavior. When our early caregivers are upsetting or neglectful, we learn to turn away from people to regulate ourselves. We become solo regulators because it's our only option. Inadequate external regulation early in life interferes with learning co-regulation skills. It's not our fault, but we can do something about it. We can build circuitry for interactive regulation with strategic skill building exercises, embodied play, boundaried cuddling, and putting words on our internal experience. Co-regulation gives us a significant evolutionary advantage, which we sorely need in these times. Beware of over-reliance on self-regulation. Self-sufficient, stiff upper lip attitudes interfere with learning co-regulation skills. Good self-regulation skills are essential, but over-reliance on self-regulation means we do not develop the skills and relationships we need for co-regulation. These days, we need all the regulation we can get. When we're dealing with intense and complex issues, the better we can stay regulated, the better we can cope with challenges like dysregulated politicians, oppressive policies, environmental degradation, and cultural upheaval. We need co-regulation skills to stay engaged and hopeful in a challenging world. Thank you for joining me in learning about regulating your nervous system. To learn more, visit my website, www.wecoregulate.com. Co-regulation is the most efficient way to regulate your nervous system when you can do it. So, learn co-regulation skills and build co-regulatory relationships. They help us cope with intensity and complexity, recover from grief, shame, and trauma, conserve our health and vitality, and build sturdy relationships. Relying on solo and primitive regulation limits our vitality. Solo strategies are important. However, relying on them too much can leave us numb, frozen, depressed, disengaged, slow to learn, and unavailable for relationships.